Brother Love has a question here from UAE. He asks, what is it that burns with the fire of lust, hatred, and delusion? Is it sankhara?
Well, we can give different words to it if you want. Sankhara is one way of looking at it. Sankhara are formations, whatever is existing in this world. The idea of burning that the Buddha uses here is to impress on the fire worshippers who are caught up with the idea of worshipping burning. So what the Buddha is doing here is saying there is a higher kind, a more real kind of burning, not outside of you, not as a religious act, but something real and inside you. It is eating away at you, it's burning you. You got to extinguish that flame. So this is a way of talking. That's why it's called Pariyāya. Pariyāya is a way of talking. So we can say, look at the Buddha's teaching in different ways, in other words. So in another session you find the Buddha will present his teaching in another way. So maybe, like for example, in the previous sutta, the Buddha uses the idea of non-self, and then before that on suffering and so on. Right? So here in this sutta, the Buddha elaborates further on the idea of on suffering, in a sense, rooted in greed, hate, delusion. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. We have a question from Brother LCO.
Sister.
Sister LCO, sorry. In line, this third discourse and first and second discourse, can we get liberation?
Through the discourse, is it?
Third discourse and first and second discourse.
So this one is about us. Okay. Okay, for us, the listening is important. Okay. Through the listening, we prepare ourselves for calming our minds, so that we will aspire to stream winning. When you aspire to stream winning, then you are motivated to act, to keep your precepts, to do mindfulness practices or meditation, and then at the end of life, you will become a stream winner. The Buddha guarantees that. In other words, he says, if you live habitually in this way, you will become a stream winner in this life. If not, definitely at the last moment. Because at the last moment, your habitual karma, you've been habitually reflecting on impermanence, you've been keeping the precepts, you've been mindful of impermanence and so on. So, but I mean, you may occasionally unmindfully break precepts, things like that, but you will never do it intentionally. Even when you break a small precept, you're very concerned. You say, "Oh, what happened? What did I do?" So there is more goodness than badness in you, and that makes you flow, towards the path. So at the end of life, definitely you will reach stream winning. So in that sense, yes, listening to the suttas will bring you awakening, but it takes some time, because remember the durian story. We have still to, unlike the Kassapa brothers, we have not built up those, in technical language you say paramis, no? Those perfections, those habits. Look at our life, this life itself. How many people say, "Oh, suttas are so difficult, they do not want to even listen to it, or they do not want to read suttas, they're even averse to suttas." So if you are like that, you'll be very fortunate if you are born as one of the deers in the deer park. See, but then even if you're a deer in the deer park, you listen to the first discourse, you won't be awakened, you see. So it doesn't mean to be born in the Buddha's time means you'll be blessed, not necessarily born as what, you see. So if you only do charitable work, you do great social service, but you don't keep the precepts, you'll be reborn as animals that are well treated. like pets and cats and all these horses and so on. So this is found in the suttas. You also must keep the precepts. If you do social work, you must also keep the precepts. You must do both together. The precepts, sila, dana together. Then you'll be reborn in a favorable situation where you can learn the dhamma, and then you can practice, and then you will head towards that goal. So remember, it begins with the simple act of saying, despite my weaknesses, I want to be a stream winner in this life itself. I'll try my best. It starts like that. You tell yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. You make that aspiration, and then you find out, how do I strengthen myself? You go on like that. Okay, so you have a spiritual goal. And this is very important for Buddhists. So like I said, for many decades, in the early decades in my life as a Buddhist, even as a monk, I was surprised now looking back, that we as Buddhists don't seem to have a goal. Other religions, they all have a goal. They aim for something as following their religion. So I would say, as Buddhists, following the Buddha's teaching, we should at least strive to reach the path, basically. And in practical terms, it means you at least strive to be a stream winner. It's difficult to be a once returner or non-returner, but definitely a stream winner is not too difficult. Okay, let's go on, please.
Thank you, Piya. The next question from Brother Arthur. He's a little confused by contact as being delineated separately from consciousness. Since consciousness is dependent on a sense organ and a sense object, it seems like consciousness itself arises from the contact of the previous two. Can you please clarify how or why contact is delineated as dependent on consciousness when it seems the consciousness itself is a contact?
Yes, very interesting, right? See, the word consciousness is a very big word. Consciousness underlies everything, right? For example, we don't just say this body. The suttas say this body with its consciousness, savinyanaka kaya. So, but when we talk, when we explain dhamma, we have to highlight certain aspects, right? So, yes, contact has consciousness behind it, but it has a certain special function. Okay, so the Buddha is presenting this picture where fire causes us suffering, basically. So he uses all this language. In fact, I was going to say something just now, so I might as well say it now. If you look at some of the language, even some of the translation I've decided to choose, I like to make it uniform enough. So I say eye contact, right? That sounds quite okay. Ear contact sounds okay. Nose contact, you may say, that sounds odd, doesn't it? Are we Inuits or Eskimos who are touching our noses, okay? And that's not what is meant, see? So that's the difference, whether we understand the Dhamma or we keep to our own language. Because when you read the Dhamma, you have to switch your operating systems, so to speak. For the computer to work, you need a proper operating system. So in this case, nose contact, the contact refers to what the nose sees, inverted commas, sees out there, smells, okay? That is contact, right? So there again, you see the language being used in a broader way. So same thing with words like consciousness and contact, you see. In fact, occasionally you find sanya and vijnana kind of, they switch places, in the highest realm of meditation, neva sanya na sanya yatana, the word there is sanya, not vijnana, you see. Because the consciousness is so subtle there that the term is not used. On the other hand, if the term is used, it's going to be quite a mouthful. It is going to be very difficult to pronounce. Neva vijnana, na vijnana, and so on, So they use the word sanya, just two syllables. So sanya, in this sense, Pariyāya can mean consciousness, right? So we got to keep our mind open in this way and look at how these words are used in the teaching. It's like playing music. Although you see the music there, sometimes you have to play in a different way to get the effect that the composer wants. You don't play the notes mechanically. You see? So music is a very good illustration here. So we have to let go of the structural aspect of words and use words as tools to express or to understand what the Buddha is saying. Remember, the Buddha is awakened. It's like someone who has seen this beautiful sunset, which no one has seen for a long time, let's say. And he has come back and is telling these people, it's like this. How can he tell something he has experienced which no one else can? Right? So he has to use words in a certain way. And that's called Pariyāya. Alright, so do reflect on this. Okay? Alright, let's go on, please.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Sister Josephine. She says, please kindly elaborate on the meaning of revulsed.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, revulsed is quite a tricky word. The Buddha is trying to find a word which will, in a sense, shock us into waking up. Okay? My son sleeps late yesterday, and we have the house cat that's hungry. It comes along meowing, meowing. And then first it meows, then he doesn't get up. So finally, he bites him. That's the shock. Okay? So the Buddha wants us to shock us into awakening, all right? Into waking. So this revulsed is one of those shock words. You kind of say, wow, this word is really powerful, you know. I mean, suffering is really a serious thing. You know? We don't play around with suffering. I mean, we don't intentionally do that. So the Buddha is saying, this is painful. I mean, if you really know this, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. You'll be revulsed by it. You will be shocked by it. You will hate it. You will have nothing to do with it. Yeah, there's a bit of argument by scholars, very polite, nice scholars. They say, oh, you know, we should not use this word so strong. Why can't we use a word like disillusion, you know? Well, we have meditation teachers, you know. One meditation teacher, Chancha, said, well, you know, dung is smelly, you know, but any other word you use is still smelly. So revulsed is like that. You cannot, how to use a nice word for it? It is painful, suffering, you know. So here, another simple way of putting it is, if you've gone through a lot of suffering, doing something, or certain series of events, you know, it's not something is not worth doing, you tell yourself, it's not worth doing it. I won't do it. I suggest you should not do it. That's called revulsed. So revulsed is based on real knowledge, experience of something painful, something not helpful at all, and you say, I don't have anything to do with this, right? And you can read this article on Attain. I think it's available on the website, right? Singai Facebook. Otherwise, you can contact me on my Facebook. There is also a link there on my Dhamma Facebook on Attain, not thatness, okay, which explains in some detail what I've just said. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. Next question is from Brother David. He asks, when we say revise at the mind, with thoughts, with mind consciousness, and with mind contact, how do we translate it in meditation?
Okay, well, in meditation, of course, if you are in deep state, you won't be noticing all this. You'll be very peaceful, and you come out really energized. It's when you're very peaceful and joyful, and you spend that moment, and then you come out, you emerge from the meditation, your mind's very clear, then you're able to notice how your mind works, the process of the mind. In other words, for example, you can quickly notice, okay, here's the eye, and then that's the object, and then you're aware of it, and then how you feel about it. So you're watching this process going on in yourself. It's quite a fast process, But if your mind is sharp enough in meditation, you can notice this process, what in modern psychology is called perception. You notice this, then you begin to notice, wow, it moves very fast, and it's impermanent, and you reflect on impermanence. So you can, after emerging of meditation, notice this development from the triangle of experience, contact, and so on. But it's not that simple. The Buddha noticed this and he explains it to us. We know the theory, so now we can watch it in parts, okay? And we notice certain parts, then we reflect it by review, okay? For example, okay, something very interesting happened to me. I was at a clinic, see a doctor. I got this number 3001. Now I look at it and I told myself, oh, that's a nice number. It should be 3000. So I kept thinking of 3000. For some reason, my aging mind starts saying it is 3000. Because a nurse comes along, standing right beside me and say, will 3001 please come with me? You know, no 3001 responded. And I was sitting there 15 minutes later. I said, that's interesting, you know, this nurse called 3001. How come it doesn't call 3000? And I look at my paper. I said, oh dear, it is 3001. And I had to go straight to her, to the station, and said, oh, I'm sorry, I thought my number was this. So then I reflected, I said, look at that. I perceive something, and I want it to be that, and my mind actually accepted it that way. So notice here, although you make a mistake, but you know what it is, and then you correct it. That means you've got to be more mindful. Okay, so this watching is very important in meditation and in mindfulness. Mindfulness means outside of meditation. Okay, of course in meditation too you need to be mindful when you are not in deep meditation. All right, let's go on.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Next question from Sister Noel. She asks, when there is a biochemical imbalance in the brain, the connection between our consciousness and sense organs and objects may be faulty or perhaps incomplete, and as a result causes mental or physical pain. How can Buddhism help reduce this pain apart from doing meditation?
Well, if not meditation, then you need mindfulness. You can use mindfulness. Well, to be honest with you, I do have a bit of pain myself now. You know, as you age, you reach 70 and past, you get all kinds of pain. But right now, I don't feel anything, no pain, okay? There is this nerve between C6, C7 pinching it. So you can imagine the pain goes down your arm and you get this, what they call, pins and needles. At first it was quite painful before medication, then they give me some medication that helped, but still you feel that pain. So it becomes chronic pain now, because it's all the time there, so to speak. So the first thing is it's called labeling, the practice of labeling. Label it as, okay, what is it? It is pain. Do not add anything more to it. Just label it as it is. Pain. That's all it is. Pain. Okay? Pins and needles, if you like. You can name it, but don't use I, me, mine. In other words, as I mentioned in the previous lesson, remember this sentence: don't own the pain. Don't own the pain. Number one, label. Number two, don't own the pain. Don't use the word I, me, mine in a sense of looking for pity or complaining. For example, you don't say, oh, I am suffering. Look at me. This pain is in me. The I, me, mine is going to cause a lot more suffering. So note the pain as it is. It is pain. You can notice it rising, falling if you like. You can notice impermanence there. There is stream winning there. Okay. But not I, not me, not mine. It's just pain. Okay. Of course, do take your medication and listen to your doctor too. Don't just say pain, 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 and then You don't take your medication, that will bring more pain and death. That wouldn't be good, right? So these two practices usually are very helpful already, all right? So, and the third, of course, as I said, is medication. Of course, in the case of the mind, it's a little bit more tricky. There are cases where, people do get all kinds of mental problems, difficulties, like forms of dementia, for various reasons of our society. And the moment you notice symptoms of this, it's good to get treatment. If you go for early treatment, you can be helped. And now these psychotherapists, they are much better than a generation ago. Now they listen to you and they explain to you what's going on. They may even talk about mindfulness and meditation, and then they give you medication, things like that. Meditation and medication. Okay? So there are three pieces of advice here. Label, don't own the pain, take your medicine. Okay? Yes, go on please.
Thank you, Piya. Next question from Sister Rachel. She asks, what is the difference between revulsion and aversion?
Okay, aversion is simply hating. Okay, it's you just don't like someone or something, because it's very nasty. It is negative. Whereas revulsion is positive. It's wholesome. Okay, so it's not, in that sense, it's not hatred. It is knowing very well a situation, and you don't want to be cheated by it. You don't want to be caught in it. Okay, so it's very strong word, because the idea is to, we call it social distancing, with COVID, right? So in a sense, social distancing is revulsion in practice, all right? So there's a practical way of looking at revulsion, social distancing, okay?
Okay, thank you, Piya. We have a question from Sister Weijie and Sandy. Knowing that our six senses burn with greed, hatred, and delusion, how can we apply this in our daily life?
Okay.
Daily practice.
Sure. Accept the emotion when it comes. Do not deny it. Okay? Very often we deny this negative situation. I say, no, it didn't happen. If you deny it, then it's always there, lurking in the shadows, right? So don't be afraid to see yourself, warts and all, as they say. Warts and all. Meaning, see yourself as you are. You are the one looking at yourself in the mirror. You don't have to tell anyone this. So, for example, certain times in the day, or certain times in the week, quiet moments you spend reflecting on such moments. Sometimes you don't have to do it. It comes to you. Your mind talks to you and says, "Oh, you shouldn't have done this." Then you reflect. Say, "Yep, okay, what happened here?" Then tell yourself, really, okay, what did I do today? What feeling did I have when I do this? Was I angry? Was I lustful? Was I deluded? Okay, or fearful? Right? Besides the three roots, there are the four biases: greed, hate, delusion, fear. Okay. Usually, because of the first three, we break the precepts, but fear also is a factor. So, acknowledge that negative emotion as it is. That's the first noble truth. Acknowledge that negative emotion that has arisen in you. No I, me, mine. Just label it. Anger, hatred, desire, whatever. Negative desire, there is also good desire. And then be more specific about it. Why is it bad? Okay, so the second noble truth. What happened? What brought it about? Okay, find out the conditions that brought it about. Maybe each time you just reflect on one aspect of the Four Noble Truths. If you can, all four. It's up to you. Okay, but do it mindfully, carefully, because this reflection will strengthen you. Okay, it may not cure immediately, but it will strengthen you. Of course, sometimes it can work wonders. All right. So notice the conditions that brought it about. So the next, the third noble truth is obviously to avoid those conditions in the future. Watch out for those conditions so that they don't bring back that, they don't become a stimuli to bring back those negative conditions. And fourthly, apply this, put into practice. Of course, in the family, we can help each other. We can give encouraging words, reminding people, okay? Sometimes it helps, to tell someone, you feel angry, right? Or you feel like this, right? And then it depends whether the person wants to follow up, wants to, use that approach or not. So you've got to be quite sensitive to the person to help this person deal with this negative emotion using the Four Noble Truths method. Okay? Alright, let's go on.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. We have time for one more question from Brother Love. He asks, have you come across any persons who were awakened by just hearing the suttas in real life? What was special about the Agihottas that they got awakened by listening to a sermon?
I have not met anyone who's awakened, simple as that, okay? And I won't know if that person is awakened, even if I met him. So I wouldn't declare any monk, even I respect him most profoundly, to be an arahat. That would be an insult to the Buddha. So never do that. Never say so-and-so is an arahat. And by saying that, you are twice lying. Seriously, by the way. You are saying what is not true of that person we do not know. And you are claiming that you are an arahat too. Because it takes an arahat to know another arahat. So please don't talk arahat, okay? Study arahats, yes. Read their discourses. These are stories, these are teachings, stories with teachings given to us. It's almost like from the Buddha's diary, if you like. It happened to the Buddha. These are the case studies. The psychologists value this because from this they study very carefully to say, wow, okay, we can learn something from this. This is an ancient case study. How in a sense, how the fire worshippers were counseled. Okay, so as I said, in the case of the fire worshippers, they were ready. The Buddha knew how ready they were because they were already fire worshippers. In other words, they were religious people. They had certain ideas in their mind, ranging from good to confused to bad. But the Buddha sorted it out for them, and by listening, it was just the right arrangement of words, the right teachings, the right personality, right occasion. So it struck home whatever the Buddha was trying to tell them, right? So in other words, in our lives, there is something that will strike home with us. I don't know what it is for you, but you have to reflect, okay, what happened to me today? Because something bad could have happened, but then you reflect on it, you say, why did this happen? And then you look at yourself and say, okay, I was peaceful, actually. I did not react angrily, and that was good. And why is it you could do that? And find out the strength, okay? And then you go on from there, self-reflection, all right? So having doubts is good, but you must question the doubt. And in questioning, you've got to go on questioning until you begin to understand the question so well that the answer comes from there. So this is how we go, right? I'm not saying, wow, this is what I'm saying here is the right thing, follow it. I don't think anyone will be enlightened by just listening to the Aditta Pariyaya Sutta, to the fire sermon, but we definitely will be very inspired. We say, wow, this is really wonderful. I feel peaceful myself, and I would like to do something with my life to be at peace. And there are many, many such stories to push us ahead, to give us that energy, that extra strength, to stand on our own at least, and then to move on our own steam towards awakening, self-awakening. Okay? All right.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. We have maybe time for one last question from Brother Elsie Yo.
Sister Elsie Yo.
Yeah, Sister Elsie Yo. Okay. I have always tried to use Buddhism concept in business and working with people on the first and second discourse. This third discourse have awakened me from the 5 aggregates, and these 6 senses with all the revulsions reaching liberation, seems to conclude into avoidance, prevention, and neutralization. How now to deal with the present, the world as it is now?
The simplest thing is to live it or leave it. Okay? You live it or leave it. You do what you can do, or if you find it doesn't work, you got to renounce it. Do something else, move on. There is one sutta, a very short sutta, where the Buddha says, if you have done all that you can and things still don't work out, then you got to ask yourself, what do I do now? What do I do now? So in that sutta is just one short sentence, what do I do now? And that is a teaching. And mind you, many of us don't ask that question, right? What do I do now? Right? What do we say? We say, oh, I am a failure. We already resign ourselves. We label ourselves failure. Wow, that's terrible, isn't it? So we should not do that. What do I do now? That is a much more positive approach. So I would say in your daily life, you should have this question whenever the time, the occasion arises. So to live something, to live life means to look at this present moment. What's going on here? What's really going on here? Is this something good or not? Or good for whom? Okay, good here in the Buddhist sense, not in the business sense, right? Psychologically good, emotionally good, right? Or what do I learn from this? This is my favorite is, what do I learn from this? Even from the worst situation, from people making mistakes, what do I learn from this? I don't have to make that mistake, but I can learn from this person, and for that I'm grateful to this person, right? So that is living the moment. Okay, so you watch what's going on, be mindful of it, apply the Four Noble Truths again, right? Take the situation as it is. Why did it arise? How can I correct this? And then go on to do it. So these are basic, simple tips. Okay, I don't think they'll bring you great wealth and great success, but this definitely will help you learn from daily life, from whatever is happening before you. And if you have more difficulties, maybe the next talk you can ask more questions and see where we go from there. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Thank you so much for all the answers, and thank you, the participants, for all the questions. We will end the session for today, and I will pass the session to Brother Piya for the closing puja.
Right, okay. Right, here comes this moment again when we close this session, and this is a very important moment. We are, in a sense, celebrating this precious nearly 2 hours, or 2 hours, more than 2 hours, that we have gathered together here from different parts of the world. This alone is a very wonderful event, coming together in the Dhamma. Imagine if you see yourself above in some spaceship, and we are little dots. You find dots all over the world. Okay, and this is really wonderful. We hope there'll be more such bright dots to brighten up the world. There are some parts of the world I know, people who join our Facebook, there are no Buddhist centers, no Buddhist groups. So this kind of gathering is a very precious time to learn the Dhamma. So treasure the Dhamma in this way, because the false Dhamma, the wrong Dhamma, false gurus, bad gurus are easily found. But here we're gathered together to be able to follow the Buddha's teaching with our own practice, reflecting on these wonderful moments by first keeping the precepts. We did that. Then we did some meditation. We listened to the Dhamma. Okay, so all this will help to bring us peace and wisdom. Right? So remember this moment that you have done something good today, and reflecting in that way with that calm and happy and joyful mind, continue to say, may I be well, may I be happy, may I enjoy good health so that I will be able to study the Dhamma, practice it even more effectively, and may I be strong enough to aspire to stream winning in this life itself. I mean, all those people I care for to be well and happy wherever they are. And even those who are inimical to me, who are not friendly with me, may they too be well and happy, so that we will somehow see good in each other. Send your loving kindness to all people that matter to you in any way. Wish them well and happy, especially the sick and those who are in need of kindness, those who are suffering, those who have misunderstandings. Send your kind thoughts to them. This is the good time. Wish them well and happy. And with that, we will say the closing salutations. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.